Welcome everyone. Welcome to ElevatePod, where we elevate your mindset, inspire your spirit, and ignite your leadership journey. This podcast is brought to you by Elevate Leadership Services. My name is Pearl.
And I am Chibwechungu.
We are the co-founders of Elevate Leadership Services and hosts of Elevate Pod. The Elevate Pod is dedicated to inspiring and empowering listeners, focusing on minorities and immigrants by offering valuable tools, resources, and pathways to foster personal and professional development.
Today, we are very honored to have Sana Shoostari, who is a minority and an immigrant. She is going to be sharing her insights, her stories on a topic that is dear to her heart, which is resilience. Sana always and believes that disability is not something that determines one's destination, but wealth or who you are. She is driven by the resilience and self-motivation, and she believes in overcoming challenges to achieve her dreams. Sana is trilingual. She's fluent in English, Spanish, and Farsi. Her career goals is to aspire to become a certified child life specialist, a person who helps children navigate their challenges. Her hobbies include therapeutic walks, which she enjoys tremendously, horseback riding, swimming, and listening to music. She is a strong advocate for many. Her passion is about inclusion, equity, diversity, and using her voice to raise awareness for many issues and for the many people who are not heard. Her motivation continues to be to support others, not to allow their limitation to hinder their abilities, but to allow them to discover who they are and fulfill their fullest potential so that they can continue to make a difference in this world. We are truly honored to have Sana because this is the topic that is relevant to each and every one of us because we all face challenges, and the resilience is the only thing that can allow us to forge forward. Sana, do you have few words before we forge into the conversation with you?
Yes, so I would like to share that anyone experiencing a challenge or a hardship in their life is not alone. There will always be someone who may not be going through the identical situation, but is going through a similar circumstance, and there will always be someone who you may feel is in a more significant situation, or you may even feel that you are the only one enduring a difficult situation, but there is no way to measure anyone's ability to overcome a challenge. It's just that every challenge is presented to each person differently, and the tools that they have to overcome it manifests in how they navigate the situation. So at no time will you be the only person enduring a challenging circumstance, but you may have to find a different path than others to achieve your goals in spite of that circumstance.
Wow, well said, well said.
Thank you for saying that.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you so much, Sana. It is such an honor to have you on our podcast today. And I can't wait to hear more about what you have to share. The topic for today is resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from challenges, to adapt in the face of adversity and grow through difficulty. It is not about avoiding struggle, but learning from it. With that, I'll go straight into the first question. What does resilience mean to you? And can you share a challenge that has shaped your resilience?
Yes. So resilience to me means the ability to persevere through challenges that may seem difficult, or the ability to learn from obstacles that may put you in a situation where you may have to problem solve, that you have to reconsider what your abilities are in a given circumstance, or overcome barriers that are out of your control, but particularly manifest in limitations of how you are able to navigate circumstances, either through your limitations in the amount of resources that you have, or your physical abilities to persevere through a challenge. But resilience is the ability to keep moving forward and adapting to all of the twists and turns that come with life struggles without giving up on your biggest hopes and dreams.
Wow. Yeah, you talk about not giving up on the hopes and dreams. I think I just want to follow up on that and
Mm-hmm.
maybe talk about your dreams, your hopes. What are your hopes so that
So,
you can hear?
my hopes are to make a difference in the world, specifically for individuals who are diagnosed with a variety of disabilities or chronic illnesses. Um, I hope to show people that a disability or condition does not define who you are, but is part of who you are. It's important to realize that a disability and a person are two separate components. A person is a person whether or not they have a disability. A disability simply is a factor that tells those who know about their disability more about them. Um, and I feel that in terms of hopes and dreams, my hopes and dreams are to work as a certified child life specialist, supporting individuals in healthcare settings to cope with the trauma that can come from healthcare experiences. And I also hope to aspire other individuals with disabilities to reach their fullest potential in spite of others stating that they are unable to do something, or in spite of their own thought processes about themselves and self doubt. I want them to realize that as long as they have the resources in front of them to succeed and the willingness to have support or to find support, the sky is the limit. The only person who puts limitations on oneself is oneself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for that message. I think each and every one of us, all of us have one or the other. I think we try to victimize and not rise above the challenges that poses, and we allow the challenges to drown us and not become who we are. I
Yeah.
know that what you're doing a lot to serve in the community, and I think with the hopes that you have, uh, and that is something that we all need, because what you're doing is needed, because you are elevating others, you are inspiring others with your work that you do. Pal.
So, thank you for sharing that. And just thinking about what you have said, my next question is, in the face of adversity or in the face of challenges, who or what helps you bounce back?
So the first thing I think about, I'm gonna answer it a little bit differently, but the first thing I think about is in any challenge, there are factors that are both within our control and out of our control. So the first thing that I look at in a challenge, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in any situation in life this can be applied to. The first thing I look at is what part of this can I address on my own? What part of this might I need assistance to address? And what part of this cannot be addressed within my own means at all? When I look at it that way, I look at what I can do to make a change in the face of the challenge. And sometimes that answer is nothing. And when the answer is nothing, there's nothing that we can do about certain situations that happen in our lives. I look at going back to resilience. What will this challenge teach me about myself or the world around me? And once I learn about how I can use this experience to support others, either in similar situations or that are at risk for being in similar situations, then I look at, okay, if I can show someone that this is a possibility to overcome, then I believe that I've made the biggest difference that I can in terms of bouncing back. It shows me that even though I'm the one affected by this, others can learn from it in the future.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful. And I think we all need to live by what you're saying. Is
Thank
that adversity should not always be the one to drown us,
you.
but should always teach us something. And I think we all learn a lot in adversity because if you become innovative, if you become inventive, and you don't see as if you're a victim, I think it can help you. It's very difficult when you're in that situation.
Absolutely. But I think the important piece is to take initiative
Mm-hmm.
where you can
Mm-hmm.
and understand that not every battle is one that can be won,
Excellent. Well said.
but every battle is something you can learn from.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well said. Yeah, I think we, as I said, we all learn. And when we are on top of the mountain, it's really that we learn. But when we are in the pit, I think we find strength because it's either you remain in that pit or you come out of it and reach
And
the
a
top of
lot
the
of that
mountain.
is strength from within, right? So we need to
Yes.
find personal strength to be able to persevere and overcome obstacles that are put in front of us. And sometimes it's what I learned too is it's okay to take a break, but it's not okay to give up.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. You've answered my question where I was going to ask you what keeps you grounded because you have actually pointed a lot of things about how you stay grounded, how you overcome those challenges that you face. And as I know, we all face challenges every day. You don't know how it's going to be, but you just have to forge ahead.
Right. And also to that point, I think that it's important to acknowledge the importance of self-respect and self-worth in challenges that require adversity and that pose us in situations where we are doubting the world around us and its ability to support us. Sometimes we may feel that we have done something wrong in this world or that we wish things had turned out a different way. But at the same time, regardless of any circumstances around us, we need to acknowledge that we are worth respecting ourselves and we are worth as people before we are any other title. Even this kind of is off topic, but I think is important to address is the importance of acknowledging one's own limitations physically and mentally as it relates to a job, it relates to anything. So I am a big proponent of boundaries and preventing burnout that may come from adversity, but your resilience to push through and have those tools to navigate burnout and such circumstances can really shape who you are and how you persevere in the future.
Wow, wow, that's very good. Thank you so much, Sana. I think you're giving us a lot of nuggets to our esteemed audience because they need to hear this because there may be somebody who is going through certain challenges, and hearing this from you, I think, is really going to help them a lot.
Yeah.
That's right. And yes, very well said, Chiwa. Sometimes we need to hear it from a lived experience and not just from a theoretical experience. So it is very powerful what you're sharing with us, and you're speaking from experience. So here's a saying. They say resilience is knowing that you are the only one that has the power and the responsibility to pick yourself up. Now, I've heard you talk about you looking from within internally and also outward, looking at what you can and cannot do, looking at what's in your control and what's not. So, how how can you direct a person that's listening right now? What advice would you give to someone going through a tough time? I know you've shared very good nuggets in that direction already, but specifically just talk to someone who's going through a tough time. What advice can you give?
The first advice I would give to someone going through a tough time is that the, any tough time is not permanent. So it goes back to the saying everything is temporary. Again, their struggle is temporary, such that positive moments are also temporary. Life is a balance between positive and negative experiences, and I wouldn't even call them negative. I would say that they are challenging. So, the first thing I would say is that realize that the situation you're in, be it good or bad, is temporary. The second thing I would say is that while you have the responsibility to pick yourself up, it is okay to ask for help in doing so. Asking for help does not mean you are requiring others to do it for you. And in fact, asking for help sometimes is necessary to do so because we don't have the resources within ourselves to complete every single task that we are assigned independently. We, as living creatures, are built on connection. So, in order to persevere through challenges, one must connect with their support system. And sometimes that support system is oneself, depending on the situation. But that's when you tap into your ability to do your research, your ability to see what is around you to best support your current situation. But the best thing that I can say is that any situation is temporary in life, and to live life to the fullest regardless of the challenges you are experiencing.
Wow, that's wonderful, Sana. I think when you say that everything is temporary, I think that is a good message for many who are going through various challenges to know that there is a light underneath the tunnel. And as long as they leave that light, a glimmer, sort of dimming, it will glow and be positive. And I think that's what you're talking about. That yes, you've gone through these challenges, but you've allowed that dim light to continue just glowing. And it's my hope that this message that you are giving us on this podcast, which is Elevate Pod, will ignite and inspire our audience, just like what we want this podcast to be doing to many immigrants and minorities that have no opportunity to get the resources that they need. But you will become their resource wherever they are, in their home or in class or in the field, wherever they are, to listen to what you're saying. So powerful and so captivating, but so important that we need to hear what you have to say,
Thank you.
all of us. So the other question that I may have for you is when you find yourself at maybe at a loss, at an impasse, how do you constantly uplift yourself? You know, sometimes we have the energy, like you've been talking about. Yes, you tap in yourself, but what other things do you do? Because you talked about your hobbies, your music, and other things. Do you use music to really help you
I do.
during those times, and how do you use that?
So I um I'm gonna also reframe this as my experience becoming in my experience becoming a child life specialist. So
Okay.
I myself have had a lot of medical challenges that have shaped truly how I view the medical field and my experience within my dependence in the medical field, right? So there's things that we there's things that unfortunately we cannot control that we are unable to do, right? Anyone who has any form of challenge has no control primarily of what that challenge is going to be, and certainly does not have control over how it's going to affect them, unless they are making an informed choice that they are going to take this action and therefore these are the consequences. But aside from that situation, we all live in a world where we need to be grateful for the abilities we do have. And I myself am someone who has challenges with comparing myself to others at times. But I think the most important thing is realizing that each person is their own unique individual,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that comparing oneself to any other person or entity does not change the person's situation. It only provides unhelpful thinking that then allows the person to develop this I- ideal nature of what they wish to have happened or what they want to have happen. And sometimes we get so fixated on the what ifs and why me that we don't realize how far we have come from the challenges that we were dealt either as a child or in an earlier portion of our life. So an example of this is when I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. um my parents were told that I would never walk, never talk, never hold an education, and basically that there would not be much that I could do on my own. And sure, there are aspects that I'm fully dependent on somebody for parts of my physical care, right? But there are so many things that I can do independently and that I can learn to do independently that I look into that to see, okay, how can I make a difference today? We don't have to make a difference all in one time. We don't have to change one's life every day. Our own responsibility is to make a little bit of difference in our own lives and carry that to one person's life daily.
Well, you are an inspiration to
Thank you.
me, to the listeners.
Thank you.
You have a voice that needs to be heard, a
Thank you.
voice that articulates what I need to hear. Because there are sometimes when you're talking about discussing or giving an example of your journey, that's when sometimes I look at myself that maybe I am whining when I complain. Thank you for helping to open, yeah, our eyes, but also to give a lot of knowledge, information, your experiences to our listeners.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing such insightful nuggets. And I was going to ask further into guidance or something you can say to someone out there, but you've already spoken to it. And what you just said here about the daily goal is just so powerful because that's something that someone needs to know, breaking it down to just that one day, what you can do in that day and the difference it can make for you and the difference it can make maybe for just that one next person. That is very inspirational for our listeners and anyone going through adversity right now. Sometimes we just need to look into today and help that one person. And that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And like Chiwe said, you are indeed a voice for the voiceless. And I'm encouraged, and I would like to see more and more of your work and all the advocacy and all that speaking for the disadvantaged or those that don't believe in themselves. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. So thank you again for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for your time and this opportunity. It's been a delight to be interviewed and to make a difference in any listener that chooses to listen to Elevate Pod.
Yes. Yeah, I think I really am so thankful that we have you to actually educate all of us and communicate with all of us and inspire us and motivate us because your message can be leveraged by many. One of the aspects that I took when you are talking about your journey, you talked about sometimes that you compare yourself to others, and sometimes I think we get down. So when you're comparing yourself to others, how do you come out of it such that it doesn't continue to nag you? Because this is a common thing that many people do, and I
Right.
think that could be a very good part for from you coming from you. What you're going to say may be very good for many people, so that they understand the impact of sort of trying to move yourself out of that cycle of comparison. So how do you do that? Because it comes to all of us.
Right. So it comes to all of us in a different form, right? So for one, it might be due to disability. For one, it might be due to I don't know, there some dream that did not, come true, but may come true for another person. It looks different for a lot of. But I think the one thing to remember in situations where comparison, I once heard this saying that says comparison is the thief of joy.
It is. It is.
The I think that that is important to remember because there will always be somebody fighting for their life to do a task that others may feel is a chore, or others may feel that they are disadvantaged for having to do said task. But in reality, there is somebody out there that would rather be in your situation than where they are now, or that has fought to the end to be able to persevere as much as they can, but they will not physically or otherwise be able to achieve where you have what you have achieved. So that is important to remember, to not take anything for granted,
Mm-hmm.
because there is somebody who will never be able to do what you are wishing you did not have to do.
Yeah, I take a deep breath because I want to hear that. That message is so powerful.
You know, I mean, this can be as simple as, I don't want to do said chore after work, but in my experience, I'm trying to gain my independence in doing tasks that are typically done on a daily basis or weekly basis in households. So for me, yeah, it may take longer, or you may have to do it differently,
Mhm.
but that doing it differently and taking longer does not equate to not able to do it. Those
Correct.
are two very different statements. Taking longer to do something is different than saying, "Oh, I can't do this." And maybe, you know, you may need tools to do what you want to do, but if you choose to let your limitations get the best of you, per se, you will never know what you're able to do.
What a wonderful ending. I think you ended with very powerful words. Before I thank the our guest, Pearl, do you have anything more, any question that you'd like to ask that's lingering with you?
Just here digesting on all those insightful nuggets. Wow, wow. I think as far as questions, I think she's answered answered what I had in mind to ask.
Yes. You're
Very, very insightful, and I'm sure that our listeners have a lot to take home from this session.
yes,
Thank you. And your last statement right there just did it for me.
yes,
Taking long to do something does not equate to not being able to do it,
yes.
does not equate to I can't. What a strong mindset. And that's something for someone to take home today from this session.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. So I would like for us to just say thank you, Sana. When I look at resilience, it isn't about never failing. And you demonstrated that during the entire time you are addressing that. It's always about rising. No matter how hard that journey gets, I see that each and every one of us, as you showed by the examples that you gave, by the journey that you had, that every challenge that we have, or every challenge that we face, allows or gives us an opportunity to be shaped, to be stronger, to be wiser, and to get grounded in becoming who we are meant to be. And
Right.
we all need those journeys. We all need to have to go through adversity. So thank you very much for joining this podcast and for really showering us with a lot of knowledge, a lot of nuggets, as Per uses it, a lot of lessons that our esteemed guests, no, esteemed audience are going to hear. It is really a pleasure coming to know you, Sana, but just
Mm.
having you and hearing the amount of knowledge, the amount of wisdom that resides within you.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
for your insights.
Thank you again. And that just wraps up the topic of resilience. Everything, every powerful thing that you have stated. For myself, I pick up when we're talking about resilience, it's problem solving from what you've stated.
it.
It's never giving up and also acknowledging our challenges. That way we can look from within what we cannot do. I have a lot to apply to myself as well, and hope our audience has a lot to apply as well. So thank you again, Sana. And thank you to our listeners. I encourage you all to reflect on your own stories of resilience. They say, do not judge me by my success, but judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. That is resilience. So we hope to see you on our next episode. Thank you for joining us on this journey to elevate and inspire, lead with purpose, and grow with passion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful, wonderful day to have and talk
Yeah.
about the topic that
Yeah.
is so important. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.